Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Play, Pause, Rewind, our first episode of 2026 and our 122nd episode overall, which is wild once again. But Niles, how have you been over the holidays and New Year? It's been a while since our last episode.
It has been a little bit. Yeah, it's been a little bit of time, but it's been good. It's been restful, relaxing. Got to get out of the country for a little bit and come back and spend the holidays kind of on a beach rather than at home cozy by the fire, but I'm happy about it either way. And happy New Year to all our listeners and happy New Year to you too, Dylan. How are you? How have you been since our last episode?
Oh, pretty good. I went home for about a week or so and have been back, at work since since like the Monday after Christmas. It seems I saw online yesterday. It was like a lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm finally going back to work after being off since Christmas Eve." And I'm like, that sounds nice. we don't.
It is
didn't
nice.
get to do that. I had shit to do, but yeah, no, I'm doing okay. Excited for another year. Hopefully, it's better than 2025. Real world wise, it doesn't seem like it's going to be, but we can always turn it around.
yeah, it's a weird rocky start for sure. We're only 6 days in, and there's already
a coup.
Lots of shit hitting the fan. Yeah, a whole coup. It's crazy.
But yeah, we're talking about a movie as usual. Do you want to kick us off and tell us about Avatar: Fire and Ash?
Yes, absolutely. Happy to. This is always a fun time, and yeah. Avatar: Fire and Ash. This is the third installment in James Cameron's ambitious sci-fi saga. This is the third film that continues the story of Jake Sully, Neytiri, and their children, their whole little family, the Sully clan, and their tribes on Pandora. And we kind of pick up pretty closely after the second film, The Way of Water, as the family is mourning their losses from the previous film, but they're also facing a violent new Na'vi tribe called the Ash People, alongside Miles Quaritch. He's back again. He's like the Terminator, and the Sky People from Earth are also here, the RDA. It's a whole lot of fun. Written or directed by James Cameron, and it's also written by Cameron, but also Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver. Stars Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Stephen Lang, Una Chaplin, Kate Winslet, and many, many, many others. Dylan, what are some of your initial thoughts on Avatar: Fire and Ash?
So, I loved this. I think it might be my favorite of the three, actually. I would like to see it again. I've not had a chance to see it a second time, but I think I like all of the movies in this series, and I think I've liked each subsequent one more than the previous one, which is rare, especially when you get to the third movie of a franchise. Usually that does not happen. And you mentioned it already, but like this is different than the jump from Avatar to Way of Water, obviously, because in that film we have like a 15 plus year time jump, I think, and like a lot has happened in between. This one, not the case at all. As with the first two films, this is like a masterwork in visual effects and digital filmmaking. Like nearly the entire thing is CGI and centered around motion capture performances. But it's like it's executed so perfectly that you probably couldn't tell if you didn't know better. Like the visual effects are, and it speaks to like the old version of criticizing effects heavy movies, right? It was like, oh, they're just so reliant on CGI. It's like CGI isn't bad. We've talked about this before. It's a tool, and you have to know how to use the tool properly and shoot, like be deliberate about your shots and plan and stuff like that. In these movies, if you watch the behind the scenes of them, the amount of planning and forethought and also trust that has to go in to the production from like everyone involved has to be insane, because it is just people running around in mocap suits in like a big room, and then it becomes this wonderful lush world that is so stunning to
Mm-hmm.
see on screen. I will say too, it's also by far the darkest of the three movies. I think it explores themes of grief and parenthood in some pretty nuanced ways, which we'll talk about in spoilers. We get some great
Mm-hmm.
new villains, and it's I think you're gonna speak to this a little bit too, but the main criticism I see of it is like it is of the three the most derivative of itself, and that's fair. I think a lot of that is deliberate, but I understand why people feel that way, and we'll talk about that more in spoilers too. But overall, for me, like huge recommend. I think it's the best one of a good series.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said there because I think this is. I had such a pleasant experience watching this movie. You know, I've never had a
Mm-hmm.
problem with any of the Avatar. The previous two, I really liked them.
Yep.
Like I think I watched the original one when it first came out, probably like 6 times or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like I just thought it was really cool. And you know, I was kind of expected to be a little underwhelmed or kind of let down in some way by this movie. I was not. I will say I was not. I think this is an excellent climax to
Mm-hmm.
this little Jake Sully trilogy, and it's my understanding that they're just going to kind of move away in like the next movies, like kind of from a Jake Sully story, or at least that's kind of what I'm hoping that they do,
Okay.
and like explore some other parts of the Navi. But I feel like that this is a good little peak for them, and it's kind of a good closer if they wanted to, and just move on to some other characters. But
Mm-hmm.
either way, I really like this. I think it's an excellent movie. It's well paced. Characters all get their time to shine as well. I think everyone gets ample screen time, and
Mm-hmm.
I think the story also takes us to a few new interesting places on Pandora. We get to see a few new kind of tribes as well. Like the Sky People and the Ash People too. This is
Mm-hmm.
just it's just cool to see other places of Pandora. And to your point as well, the visuals, they do not disappoint. This I may be looking at layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of pixels on screen. Like there is so much going on,
Mm-hmm.
but like to your point, yeah, if you didn't know any better, it looks really realistic. It looks lifelike. Um, I think there are some points when like the human characters are on screen, it's kind of like, well, they kind of look like they're just photoshopped in or something. Like it doesn't look as
Mm-hmm.
good as the rest of the Navi, but that's okay because they're not always there. But it's simply mesmerizing and just like Way of Water. And I would, if you guys have not listened to our discussion on Way of Water, that's episode 52 on
Mm-hmm.
our podcast. Please go check that out. That was a really fun conversation as well.
Yeah.
Uh, but to your other point too, you're right. I was going to say this. I think the overall narrative is a little predictable. It's a little derivative. We'll get into that a little bit more, a little repetitive of the last two films, but they throw in some new interesting elements that I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
expecting. And I think that keeps the story fresh. It keeps it interesting. Um, but yeah, if you've seen like the last two movies, you could probably guess where a lot of this is going in Fire and Ash. But even though it kind of feels shallow in that regard, the movie's full of passion. The movie's full of detail. There's like to your what you just said, so much planning went into this. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
who worked on this, you can tell they gave it their all. They were really trusting of each other, and I think it just works really well. And so, just for that point, I'm willing to overlook any simplicity in the narrative or any derivative nature of it because I enjoyed this spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
This is a spectacle of a movie, and there's a lot of sick action going on too.
Yeah.
Uh, that's kind of why we go to these too. And I am always happy to see an anti-imperialist movie
Mm-hmm.
in which the shitty colonizers die in mass on the silver screen. So that is always fun to
Yes.
watch.
um. Yeah, I agree. And before we go on to spoilers too, I want to circle back to the conversations. There are two different conversations that always seem
Yes.
to orbit around these movies. One, people are like, oh, Avatar, it's so weird. It gets like it makes a ton of money and then it has no cultural impact and no one ever talks
Mm-hmm.
about it. And it's like, okay, I think we need to retire the phrase no cultural impact, not just from this franchise, but in general. I think it's a deeply stupid thing to say. One, because This is now the third movie in a franchise. It has already grossed over $1 billion, and it is the lowest grossing of the three. It's on track to
Mm-hmm.
make like 1.6 billion, which, like, yeah, it's a big decrease from the last one, but it's still $1.5 billion.
It's
And
a lot of
two,
money.
and we talked about this in the Way of Water episode, but like the idea, what people think of when they're talking about cultural impact is they're talking about online discourse. And the the movie Avatar came out in 2009,
Mm-hmm.
just after the start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just before the start of Game of Thrones, and sort of right before like the online geek culture space really took off. And Star Wars came back in 2012 as well. So it's like, and then all of those franchises have been releasing things every year or almost every year ever since then. So they're always in the conversation because there's always a new entry coming out, right? Avatar's not like that. Mission Impossible isn't like that. Most movie franchises were not like that until
Mm-hmm.
the 2010s. I would argue we are at a point where we are seeing the negative impacts of a release schedule like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and being ever present and ever talked about. People get fucking sick of it eventually. People get tired. And you can see from the box office of these movies and the way people get excited about them and talk about them when they're out, it's like people are not tired of Avatar. Maybe that's the lesson
Agreed.
that should be brought out of this. And then the other one is just going back to what you said about like it being a craft of passion, right? The other thing I've started to see from a lot of people is like, imagine all of the amazing movies James Cameron could have made in the time that he's been spending on just Avatar. And it's like, one, who the fuck are you to say that to James Cameron?
Mm-hmm.
But two, I just looked this up to double check, but James Cameron has been trying, like, wanting to make Avatar since he was like a teenager. His first
Really?
sketch, his first like concept sketch for it, he made in 1978. That's a year after the original Star
Wow.
Wars came out. So it's like this is a lifelong passion project for this guy. It's like, yeah, he could have made other movies in other genres. He made The Terminator, he made Aliens, he's made a lot of great things. He wants to make this. Leave him the fuck alone. Like
Yeah.
and these are great. These are very well-made movies and they
Mm-hmm.
get like the first one especially is probably the most plot-wise derivative of other things, but they have gotten more complex and interesting as they've gone on and they've built their own mythology. I think it's time to move on from these couple critiques of the Avatar franchise. They just scream like ignorance to me at this point in time. But do
Mm-hmm.
you have any thoughts on that before we move on to spoilers? I know I just
I
talked a
mean,
lot.
I would just say that I agree with what you
Yeah.
said. And I think when people talk about cultural impact, yeah, to your point, they're thinking of like something big like Star Wars or something
Mm-hmm.
like in pop culture that leaves a very lasting impression, but we're kind of in a different era now. Uh, and yeah, I'm not thinking about Avatar every day of my life, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm also not thinking of Luke Skywalker every day or Darth Vader. And like,
Yeah.
just because there's like lots of continuing discourse around Star Wars and stuff, that doesn't mean everyone likes Star Wars, and that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean it's part of your culture. And kind of same thing with Avatar. I
Yeah.
think there's definitely microcosms, groups of people who really relate to these movies and
Mm-hmm.
find value in the story. Like I think on our last episode, I mentioned there's an episode of or our discussion on the Way of Water. Excuse
Mm-hmm.
me. There's an episode of How To with John Wilson. Fantastic show. Cannot
Yeah.
recommend it enough. It's amazing. But he like stumbles across this group of it's this fan club of Avatar. Like
Mm-hmm.
just these kids who just love it and they love the escapism. They just love the
Mm-hmm.
world. They're just obsessed with it. They speak Navi to each other. Like
Yeah.
they're so into it. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's just their little subculture. And like just because there's not like this huge ripple effect in the culture from a single movie doesn't mean it doesn't have like these bigger impacts on individuals.
Right. Yeah, and it's a really weird way to talk about art. And it's very
Yeah,
like a very team sports oriented thing. I don't really understand the hostility that this franchise specifically draws from people. Like people
yeah.
are so dismissive of it for some reason. And I I will say, like, we're both fans of Marvel, okay? I'm saying this as someone who likes Marvel a lot, maybe
Agreed.
less so recently. But a lot of the derision comes from Marvel. And I remember in 2019, and I did this to an extent too, people were just like rooting for Endgame to dethrone Avatar as the highest grossing movie of all time. And just like take a step back from the art for a second and think about what you're doing. You're
Mm-hmm.
cheering for Disney to make more money than Disney. That's it. That's all you're doing.
Yep,
Um,
basically.
and like if we're talking gross, just because I have it pulled up and I think it's interesting. Um, the Avatar franchise has two of the top three highest grossing films of all time. One in three slots. The second one is Avengers Endgame. The fourth one is James Cameron's Titanic. Cameron is four of the top five spots of all time. Like clearly, like this guy knows how to connect with audiences in an almost unique way. I think.
Mm-hmm. He
Um,
does. He's a
yeah.
brilliant filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
We've done that for years, and yeah, that is such a good observation, though. Which IP? My IP is gonna do better,
I
but I'm
know.
still giving my money to the same company ultimately.
It's like in line at the food bank tweeting about how Marvel Studios is going to outgross the Avatar films. It's like, come on, man.
Is that really? Is that really the priority?
Yeah.
Whatever.
All right.
Do you want to jump
You
into
want
the
to do
spoilers?
spoilers? Yes.
Jinx.
Oh my god, no. So yeah, to start, mentioned it in non-spoilers, but overall, this is the by a large margin the darkest of the three movies so far. I don't think any of them have really pulled their punches when it comes to showing like violence and the real cost of war, but
Mm-hmm.
this one for sure takes it the farthest. Like early on watching the creature that pulls the like big sky balloons they're on, it's just like
Yeah.
wailing and flailing as it's going down with the ship, and I kept thinking like someone's gonna cut it free, so and they don't because they don't have time, and it just goes down and it dies, and it's like we're like, oh my god. And in
Uh,
general, like a lot of their like animal buddies
yeah.
don't make
Me
it through the
too.
movie. Um, and I don't know if
Mm,
you remember this from the first one or if I'm remembering it correctly, but like the flying things, the banshees, I think they're called Ikrin or something. But
mm-hmm.
if I remember correctly, they're supposed to be like bonded for life with their rider.
Yep.
So like
Mm-hmm.
that's and they
That's
don't
so
have time to
sad.
dwell on. It's so sad, and the characters don't have time to dwell on it like in any instance, which makes it even more sad. Like they're losing
Mm-hmm.
this lifelong friend and they just have to move on. Um and like additionally that we get the queen of the water tribe, Kate Winslet's character. She's pregnant, she gets killed, and she dies
Right.
just after giving birth. The one kid from the ocean tribe that Loak kind of like befriended over the last movie, and this one, like, he gets killed, he gets shot with a spear
Mm-hmm.
underwater. And then we'll talk about this later, but there's a lot of darker material given to Jake and Neytiri as well than what they got in the last two.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of dark shit. I mean, when they're like looking for Jake Sully and everything, they're just going
Mm-hmm.
from like water village to water village, torching it and just like cutting off braids and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, there's a lot of darkness in this movie
Yeah.
for sure. Um, which is, it brings us to the plot itself. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think that the plot, like I mentioned in non spoilers, it does feel a little derivative of the last two movies, but
Mm-hmm.
I think in the worst and the best ways. I think
Mm-hmm.
first, the best ways, like we've got two movies already that have just established a ton of mythos and lore for the world, and we've established ourselves with these characters. We're connected with them. We understand
Yeah.
their struggles, where they've been, and everything. So it just kind of works really well coming into this movie. You already have all that great knowledge. So, yes, it can kind of rhyme a little bit like
Mm-hmm.
poetry.
Yeah.
It can
Mm-hmm.
be a little similar to the last two movies. That's okay. Especially because it's like, yeah, these are natives versus the colonizers kind of argument here,
Mm-hmm.
or narrative, excuse me. But I think because everything feels so similar, it feels simultaneously poetic in a way, and it makes the film feel like a natural and exceptional climax for the Jake Sully trilogy, or just like this great further exploration of the Pandora and the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think also we get to see all of or most of the things that we loved in the previous films.
Mm-hmm.
Turok comes back, the whales come back. We got all kind of the familiar animals that we've seen before,
Mm-hmm.
especially from Way of Water, coming back, and we get all the kind of human characters too. So it's like great. This is just kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's coming together here, and all the locations feel reminiscent of the previous film. So I honestly think it all works very well together in terms of the plot here.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I think because it is derivative, there, it's you can kind of guess where things are going here. The plot's pretty predictable, and I think that's the weakest part of all of these films is that I think when the first one came out, it was like, oh, this is just Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
This is just a reiteration of that movie, and it's like, yeah, to a point. But I don't think it's necessarily the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
We come to these movies for escapism, for
Mm-hmm.
fantasy, for excitement and adventure, and yeah, the plot
Yeah.
doesn't need to be incredible.
Well, right, and also like some of the all-time favorite film franchises that everybody loves, including especially the people who most like hatefully critique this series. Those are derivative too, man. Like Star Wars is derivative, Indiana Jones is
Exactly.
derivative, Marvel
Exactly.
is derivative of things. Like it's okay in and of it. Like that is not a critique in and of itself unless it doesn't do anything interesting with
Yes.
the what it's driving. And I think this does. But I also think
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's less predictable than people give it credit for. I think like it
Mm-hmm.
brings in a lot of similar imagery and similar sequences for sure. I think that's deliberate, and we'll talk about that more later. But like I went into this movie thinking that Jake Sully was totally a goner, right? That played into the way Sam Worthington was talking about the movie too, and James Cameron, where they're talking about it as the end of a trilogy with him, and you get this like darker element of it. Like I mean it's in the trailer, but I wouldn't have predicted that Spider would be able to breathe, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, there were some things we predicted, like Quaritch's arc we predicted correctly in the last review to an extent. Um
But yeah,
but
to your
yeah.
point, yeah, there are like surprises that come along the way, just like you were
Mhm.
saying. Spider is an integral part of this film. He's able to breathe, the first human to
Mhm.
breathe on this planet.
Mhm.
Quaritch has to kind of team up temporarily with Jake. It's like, this is great. I love this. These are great little surprises, even if we guessed a few of them. Like
Yep.
there's still tiny little like nuggets that you don't see coming, and I think that's terrific.
Mhm.
Like the whales, their whole culture. I'm blanking on what they're called right now,
The
but the
Tulkun.
Tolkun. Thank
Yeah.
you. Um, like there's just great things along the
Mhm.
way, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah. Well, and another thing too that it's been talked about, and this also I think ties into why this film has so many similar location, like the same locations as Way of Water in a lot of instances, and a lot
Hmm.
of similar visuals and sequences. Is initially when Cameron was writing it, this and Way of Water were a movie. They were one movie.
Mm.
I don't know how that would have worked. There's a lot of movie in these two movies, but I like.
Yeah.
I mean, good for him. He made the right call, splitting up into two. But I think if you view it as a part two to Way of Water's part one, then I think a lot of those similarities to that movie sort of fall away from the
Sure.
critique, because it's like, of course they're similar. They're the same fucking movie. And it's and there are some sequences that are very very similar. We'll talk about those later. But do you want to talk about
Hmm.
Edie Falco for a moment?
Yes, of course. I have to, as a Sopranos fan. I definitely brought this up in the Way of Water episode,
Mm-hmm.
but I gotta say it again. I love Edie Falco. I think she's a fantastic actress. She's great. There's a part of me that feels this she wasn't the right one for this role though. But I don't know. I think that she did a good job as the antagonist in this movie. But yeah, as a Sopranos fan, whenever she's on screen, I just see and hear, especially I see and hear Carmela Soprano, like just telling the troops like, you're fucking up. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, who wants some ziti? Let's go eat some ziti. Like,
so I have a question for you on that. Like, do you think it's her performance that takes you out of it, or is it just that you recognize her from The Sopranos that takes you out of it?
It is just that I recognize her, and I'm so used to Edie Falco being this one character. And I know she's done other characters, like she was Nurse Jackie. She's been in other roles, like she wasn't just Carmela Soprano. It's just that she's probably in every single episode of The Sopranos, I think, or just about. So it's just like, you see her in every episode, she's kind of playing everything the same way every time, and it's like, oh man, you got a mob boss wives. She's got that role down.
Yeah.
You know, she's so good at it. So when she's like a military commander, I'm just like, what is she? Where's Tony? Just bring in Tony.
Well, but that's why I ask, because like I have not watched The Sopranos yet, so I don't have that relationship with her as an actor. So like I don't see any issues with her whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like it's and that's but that's like that's part of like acting and just being a known entity, you know, like when I see Mark Hamill in a movie, you know, I don't think, oh, it's Luke Skywalker all the time, but I am thinking about Luke Skywalker because it's like I've always seen you as this guy. But
exactly,
and the more known an actor is, and there are some actors where it is just like they're so tied to a role that you just can't unsee it. For me, she is not one of them, just because I haven't watched that show yet. But for you, it seems like she probably is.
Oh yeah. I will never not see her as Carmela Soprano. But enough about Edie. Love her. Let's talk about the Sky Traders, or these nomads, for a little bit, because they were, I don't know, when I watched the trailer and everything, I was expecting them to be a bigger part of this movie. And I wish we spent a little more time with these traders, because that's such an interesting concept, that these Na'vi are like just going around Pandora trading things and kind of creating a global economy in some way for the Na'vi.
Yeah.
I just think they're so neat, and it's so cool to just see this different type of nomadic people on Pandora.
Yeah, I guess like another thing that wasn't what I expected, because I was sort of in the same boat as you. I thought like, well, the first one we're kind of like with the forest people, and then the second one we go to the water tribe, and then in the third one, and like I saw the trailer, the big balloon airships they travel around were like a big part of the marketing. I'm like, okay, I think it's the air one now, and then the fire ones are also here, so it's like about them. Not really. I agree. These guys were very cool, and I would love to see more of them and this culture in the later films in the series, because like this group they get kind of cooked, both you know, metaphorically and literally, very early on. But okay, this just reminded me though, because air nomads, the other fandom who fucking has it out for this series is the Avatar: The Last Airbender fandom.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, and I guess they're still mad that the Nickelodeon show had to change its name to Avatar: The Last Airbender, because James Cameron had the copyright for Avatar already. But guys, the elements, this concept, were not invented by Mike and Brian for Avatar: The Last Airbender. They are concepts that are ancient across multiple things, cultures, religions, and film franchises. There's no beef between James Cameron and the Nickelodeon Cartoon Network. It's okay.
You don't own the air, man. You can't. That's not like a thing.
But oh my god, I saw a tweet the other day. Someone, this person was talking to someone like at a conference or something about like, oh yeah, I like really like Avatar, and then they said the person sort of derisively said like, oh the like Nickelodeon, like The Last Airbender or the Blue People one, like trying to put down this, and then they responded, the James Cameron films, not the Nickelodeon children's show. And then they're like the face they gave me was like to die for.
That's a good clapback. Oh my
Last
gosh.
Airbender, another wonderful show. Good
Yes.
stuff. Not dissing it at all. Don't misunderstand me.
We love both. We love both
Yeah.
things.
I watched the entirety of Last Airbender and Legend of Korra as an adult. They are wonderful shows that can be enjoyed by adults as well, okay? But also, do not make it your entire personality. Holy God.
For sure.
All right.
But yeah, let's move on to the antagonists of the film. Quaritch, Miles Quaritch, and the leader of the Ash people, Varang. Excuse me. I think these were very strong performances, in my opinion. I especially like Varang. I thought she was terrifying as a villain, and I honestly wanted more of her. I wanted to know more about her and her background, and like, she kind of feels like a cult leader in a way, kind of like a Charles Manson, or like, you know, I'm blanking on the other guy's name. Jonestown guy. I can't remember his name right now, but she reminds me of that kind of cult leader who's like just is able to like break people down and then turn them into like a convert or something like that. You know, like that's just kind of like their whole thing as like a cult leader, is you like just get into their psyche and just like overpower them, overwhelm them in that form. Break them down, and then they join your cult. And I just kind of got that vibe from her, because she's got this whole ponytail connection thing, like with the, I'm blanking on what the word is for their connection dendril things for the Navi, but like she was able to like basically connect them with other people, and then just like black magic wizard fuck up their brain kind of shit going on there. And that part I was a little confused on. I was like, is she overpowering them? Is she draining their life force? Like, what is this like mystical connection that she has that's a little stronger than everybody else? And I just wanted more of those details, you know?
Yeah, I like looking at it, because my interpretation, because in like the past movies, they connect. I think Jake and Neytiri connect when they're like, you know, hooking up for the first time. Like, I think maybe there's like some energy you put into it that allows you to connect, like, and like develop a closeness with whoever you're connecting with, because they connect to like the animals that they're, you know, riding and stuff like that too. And I like, in that context and the way people reacted, this read very much like an assault to me. Like she is violently assaulting these people, and it's just like maybe she's just changing like the frequency of her output basically into something more hateful and violent, and it functions as this like really, really painful assault. Another thing too, about the fire, the Ash people, sorry, was just like, in Quaritch, his sort of like Hail Mary plan to go after Jake Sully and the other Navi is just like, all right, we're gonna work with this tribe of natives that I came across. Like they're pretty fucking out there. I think we can leverage them for our cause. And just the idea of a very US coded military guy enlisting native populations to do sort of like insurgency stuff against the other locals. I don't know. It feels very much like what the United States does all the time, where we will like back rebel groups in, you know, in parts of the world where the government is not really aligned with United States business interest. And you know, if it's not making money for an American corporation, the government has to be toppled. That's U.S. foreign policy in a nutshell. Contras in Nicaragua, the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. A couple examples. If you want to really go down a rabbit hole, maybe Google what happened with the Mujahideen and what they became after they were allies of the CIA in the Soviet-Afghan War. I don't know. Just do that on your own time. See who those people were and what they did in the early 2000s. You know, just look at that. Stuff. Just look at that. Just look at that a little bit. Yeah. But I think Varang, definitely one of the highlights of the film. Played by Una Chaplin. She was I forget her character's name, but she was in Game of Thrones. She was Robb Stark's wife is where most people would probably recognize her from.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh, right.
very different performance. But
Very different.
she's a ton of fun to watch, and she feels wholly distinct from the other Navi characters that we've met so far in the series, right? Like, she is no longer in tune with Awa and the nature of the world around her because she feels like her goddess abandoned her. So she just turned her back on all of it and went full scorched earth. Like, she lives in the shadow of a volcano that it seems destroyed her entire, village and culture. So I guess, like, anger, semi-justified. That sucks. That's really unfortunate that happened to you. And she just, like, becomes infatuated with fire and leads the rest of her tribe into that. Like, they even have that one guy who, like, douses himself in oil, and then she shoots him and he flies into the ship as a bomb.
Yeah, he goes
like
kamikaze.
That was pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, like their whole way of life is entirely different from the Navi that we know. It's stark. It's very different. And it's dark too.
Yeah.
And for a minute there, oh no, go for it.
I think it's like it's just in general she becomes someone who enjoys playing with fire, like literally, and then in a more metaphorical sense with Quaritch, because he's competent and dangerous. In their first interaction together, he orders his guy to shoot one of her people, and she's like, oh fuck yeah, I like that. And that kind of defines their relationship. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's a fascinating relationship. And yeah, for a minute I thought that Quaritch was going to follow in the footsteps of Jake Sully in the first movie, where he kind of embraced the Navi way of life and started and slowly, gradually switch sides. And that clearly didn't happen. But I think he was getting very close to that mentality in a way, because he was obviously getting very close with Farang and embracing some aspects of their culture. He was like being very slowly converted to their lifestyle, or at least the Ash people's mentality.
Right.
Maybe if he had more time with her in this movie, we could have betrayed humanity, but who knows?
Yeah. I will say, I do think, and I think Avatar 4 is confirmed now. It was kind of the future of the franchise was kind of dependent on the box office of this one. I think it is confirmed, but I think if we do get 4 and 5, this is what he ends up doing. Like, he is eventually going to become a convert, and like, there's so much of that in this movie, but I think that's kind of his direction. And I do think he followed Jake's footsteps in a way, but in sort of like the dark side version of it, right? Like, I really enjoyed that the Quaritch Varang relationship is like that dark mirror of the love story from the first movie between Jake and Neytiri. And I like, sorry, apologies if this phrase is offensive now. I don't know, but it's like he criticizes Jake in the first film for going native, and then he kind of does the same thing here. Like, I love this scene towards the end in the mission briefing when, like, he's fucked up and like wasted a ton of resources, and he walks into the mission briefing in like full war paint. Like, he's not wearing like the RDA military stuff anymore. He's just fully in like Navi mode, and he's like, oh, I guess it was just indiscretion that I was not invited to this meeting. And then the general's like, no, you're grounded. What the fuck?
You've been fucking up, dude. Come on. Yeah,
it's great.
It's so good. And there's a part of me that's like, it will forever feel a little silly that the RDA, and specifically Quaritch, they spent so much time, effort, and resources to capture and kill a Jake Sully. And it's like, isn't the whole point just like resource extraction here to bring back to Earth? It's like, why do you have to? Why are you focusing on this one guy? Just like, he can't be everywhere all at once,
Yeah.
But whatever.
I think it's twofold. One, he's the Toruk Makto guy, so he can like unite all of the tribes, I guess, which he does again in this movie. Even though it makes him uncomfortable, which is something we might touch on later. I think that's an interesting development. But I also think it's largely symbolic for the RDA, because he betrayed humanity in the first movie. Well, no, he did. But
He did.
like he's the reason they had to leave the planet, and that probably cost them like $250 billion. So they're probably really fucking pissed at him. And I like there is that element of like everyone who works on that base when he comes in, they're all filming and they're probably like sending it back to Earth to get
Yep.
social media points or whatever and stuff like that. So it's like I think it's just like a glory capture for them, aside from
For
the
sure.
fact that he is the one who can unite like the planet against them, which you know, I guess they're right because he fucking does it again. But before we talk to that, let's talk about Jake and Quaritch's relationship a little bit more, like both the rivalry and the team up. And I just want to say, if you watch our Way of Water episode, I fucking called it. It's not that it was unpredictable, but I'm taking my flowers anyway.
Nice.
I really did love the sequence of them teaming up to like help rescue Spider and the other kids from the Ash people.
Yes.
I like you can tell that despite Quaritch's resentment of Jake for, you know, betraying him basically in the first movie, he still does like and respect him in a way. Like he gives I love when he gives Jake the knife and his second in command is like, what are you doing?
Why did you do that?
Yeah, and like I think they work well as a team and a unit, which was really fun to watch. I also think Quaritch does genuinely love Spider. I love the part where he walks in and he's like, brought you a burger. He just tosses him the burger.
Eat something for God's sake. Yeah, I really enjoyed the team up as well. I thought that was an interesting start to the film and just great dynamic between the two and something that we hadn't seen before.
Yeah, it's like it's always fun in movies and TV shows when characters who do not like each other and are on opposing sides have to work together. Like I guess to compare to Avatar: The Last Airbender at this point, mirroring an arc that I think is the ultimate arc for what's his face, Quaritch. It's like that episode, the Blue Spirit one, where Zuko and Aang have to team up to get out of the base, and they're not friends yet. They like go their separate ways and fight immediately when they realize who the other person is. But it's like it's that first step towards an alliance, you know, that's definitely going to come in the future. I also really liked their final battle amidst that like vortex thing. They're jumping around the floating rocks,
so cool.
And they're trying to save Spider, and that's sort of what like, or Spider's saving Quaritch, and Quaritch is saving Spider, and Jake is trying to save everybody. And I really also like that, at least at this point, like Quaritch just can't accept Jake's offer to join them and like fully redeem himself. But I have a feeling Jake is going to refuse to give up on him. Like that's his big, like he's like, he really wants him to see Pandora the way he sees it. It's part of his mission to make this guy like see the light. And I think that's really cool.
For sure. And I mean, yeah, Quaritch has got he's got some good one-liners and some good comedy in this movie too. Like when they're all kind of sitting there at the end and they're like breathing really hard, they almost all died. He's like, so what, are we going to sit around and like sing Kumbaya now or something like that? Like, like, oh yeah, he definitely would say that. And he got some other good quips throughout the movie too.
Yeah. And I think it's like he's not dead, obviously, but I think they wrote that scene in that way so that if they didn't get to continue, like they could just say like, hey, he died. Like he committed suicide there. But he's definitely going to be back in 4 and 5. Like I feel like he will be a big part of the back half of the franchise. But
see it.
I want to talk about the Tulkun, the whales, the politics and trials. They put Payakan on trial and they exiled him. It's fucked up.
This was so odd, but I loved it at the same time.
It's sick as fuck that we have fully subtitled whale politics as a major plot line in a huge blockbuster franchise. Like they come out of the water, they poke their heads up, they sit in a circle, and they talk about shit. It's great. It's like genuinely engaging stuff too, and it mirrors Jake's arc from the last movie. Like in the last one, Jake was like, okay, I'm just gonna go into hiding, protect my family. don't want to fight. I'm leaving that life behind. And it's similar to the Tolkien, both in that one and this one, where like they are completely averse to violence, right? Because they think
Mm-hmm.
violence begets more violence, which,
Mm-hmm.
is true. That's true to an
Yeah.
extent. But it also, there comes a point where you do have to defend yourself. Like if your enemy is just relentless and trying to wipe you out, yeah, man, you got to fight back or you're going to die. And like Jake comes to that conclusion at the end of the last movie, like because they're never going to stop hunting him, so he has to fight in order to protect his family like he wanted. He has to make a stand. And then the Tulkun elders have to be shown like from that one lone survivor of Paya Khan's pod. I think they call it a
Mm-hmm.
pod in the movie like they do in real world, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
They like they have to see the consequences of not standing up for themselves and then it's like they will be hunted to extinction if they don't put a stop to these poachers, basically. And so they're like, all right, we're in. You son of a bitch, I'm in.
We got it. I thought that was such a neat element to add in here,
Mm-hmm.
especially like, I think as humans, we tend to think we are the only intelligent
Mm-hmm.
species on the planet that can have culture, and that is like kind of the defining trait of civilization or
Mm-hmm.
intelligence. But it's like, yeah, you look at other species, and you can make an argument for intelligence and
Mm-hmm.
communication. Plenty of species communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins, for example, they're
Yep.
highly intelligent and they
Mm-hmm.
communicate with each other all the time. They might
Yeah.
be smarter than us sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and I just was happy to see whales
Mm-hmm.
here talking and discussing their culture and politics together. Very, very refreshing.
Yeah, it's like, and it's touched on in the last movie that they're like hyper
Yeah.
intelligent and they're like songwriters. I think it's like they
Mm-hmm.
compose these like epic music, like pieces of music or something like that. Um, but it's like, yeah, it's cool. And like other species at minimum have community, like even if they
Mm-hmm.
don't have the same level of intelligence, they do have that level of like social cohesion sometimes. I don't know, is that the right word? Um, but like they stick together. They look out for each other a lot of the time. They do stuff together, I guess. But yeah,
Exactly.
whatever. I like this stuff. I thought it was neat. I think it's fucking bananas that it exists.
Yeah, I'm down for it. Uh, yeah, I kind of wanted to briefly talk about Spider as well because he's
Mm-hmm.
integral to the story.
Yes.
Before we dive too far in, I wanted one of my friends who also saw the movie. He pointed out to me that throughout the movie they call him Monkey Boy. Monkey
Mm-hmm.
Boy. That's how they refer to Spider among the Na'vi. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
this whole little nickname for him. And he kind of pointed out to me that's like it's kind of a microaggression in a way, Monkey
Yeah.
Boy. It's like they're
Yeah.
calling him the whole movie. It's like, yeah, it's a silly observation, but I think you're kind of right there. It's not the best thing to be calling someone.
It's an odd name. I like it's very clearly in the context of the relationship with the people who say it. It's
Exactly.
like a term of endearment, but it's like, okay, I don't love it either. If I'm being honest, it's weird,
It's a little weird, but
but
it's fine.
yeah,
We'll call him Spider.
yeah.
Spider. Hughes actually had a more relevant and pivotal
Mm-hmm.
role in this movie than he did in the last one. I felt like last movie was kind of similar to like Tuck, like a little kind of just like, oh, I'm a little kid, just kind of there and kind of a little in the way and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of trying to get out of the way.
Okay.
But I wasn't expecting how important Spider was going to be in
Mm-hmm.
this movie, and I'm glad Cameron wrote that the way he did. So quick little recap for everybody. Spider is the only human who's living among these people.
Mm-hmm.
He runs out of oxygen on his mask and he starts to die, but then Kiri calls on Awa to save him, which
Yeah.
she does by filling him up with like mycelium,
Mm-hmm.
like just kind of like mushroom spores or whatever that's like infused in every part of his body. So like
Mm-hmm.
his lungs and his blood and everything. And so he's
Yeah.
able to breathe finally, which is pretty fascinating. And then the humans also realize that this is their opportunity to truly colonize Pandora if they can replicate what's
Mm-hmm.
going on in Spider's body. So that it kind of becomes this story about like we got to capture him and research him and figure out how to do that,
Mm-hmm.
make this achievable for humankind. And I thought that was fantastic. I think this is a very creative narrative element to throw into the mix, and it gave Spider more agency in the film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure this was already planned well in advance, from before Way of Water, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But I think it breathes new life into the narrative, and then it also creates some conflict for Jake and Neytiri as well, because
Mm-hmm.
Jake eventually realizes, after Neytiri realizes it, that it's like there's no way to stop the Sky People than to kill Spider, because they need him to
Right.
create this, uh, some kind of scientific revolution for them to be able to colonize the Earth, or
Mm-hmm.
Pandora. And I think there's this great moment in the movie. It's very dark, as we alluded to earlier,
Mm-hmm.
where um, Jake has this realization. He's like, I need to kill Spider, who's
Mm-hmm.
basically my adopted son. He
Yeah.
takes him into the forest, and it feels very much like a Abraham and Isaac, or
Mm-hmm. Isaac.
Isaac moment. Thank you, Isaac moment where Abraham took him up onto the mountain because God asked him to kill his
Mm-hmm.
son,
Yeah, it's
and
like a
he was
test.
trying to. Yeah, it was a test of his faith to God and everything, and that felt very reminiscent here in this
Mm-hmm.
moment.
Yeah, a fucked up test, by the way.
Fucked up test.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that's crazy.
it's funny. I think Isaiah is like either Abraham's dad or Isaac's son too in the Bible. So maybe that's why you're trying to merge
Yeah,
those names.
probably.
But I don't remember. He's related somehow. But yeah, I definitely got the Abraham and Isaac illusion here as well. And we'll talk about this later. But like the franchise and fantasy and sci-fi in general in the Western world has a lot of Christian biblical allegories and allusions, right? And we'll go through those in a little bit. But I like this plot line too, because one of the scientist characters, one of the few humans who are like in their little gorilla base that they have, he's like, oh, this is like incredible, and then Jake clocks it immediately. It's like, no, it's not. It's really bad. Because think about like what the RDA will do when they find out this exists. Like, they have unlimited resources. They will find a way to reverse engineer. And it's like, I like that he's just familiar enough with the mindset of the people he's fighting to be like, no, dude, we're fucked. Like, this is so bad for us.
Yeah, it really was not very good, but I liked Spider in this. I thought he was pretty central to the story, and I like Spider's character too, because it speaks to like this. I feel like the theme of family is very prevalent throughout all these three movies, and especially in this instance, found families.
Yeah.
I think that's relevant for him and for Jake too. But Spider is the progeny of Quaritch. And he's never really known anything other than the Navi way of life, and so he's found his way into this family with the Sullys, and it's a crazy moment in that forest. Like, I thought he was going to kill Spider for a little bit there. It definitely seemed like that was the way it was going, but I'm happy it didn't, and it was just kind of this heartwarming element for the narrative too.
Yeah, I think the movie was dark enough to prepare you for the possibility, but it would have been very hard to keep Jake as a likable protagonist if he had done that. And like, okay, if that's the direction they wanted to go and have him not be as likable going forward, okay, but that would have been a real writing challenge for sure. But like, transitioning a little bit to just grief and mourning, because if we like remember back to the last film, their oldest son Neytiri is killed in the final battle, and yeah, so I'll take it away for a second. But
sure, you got it. Yeah, I mean, like you said, he was killed in the last movie, and this movie picks up basically right after that whole battle, and grief and mourning are very prevalent themes here in this movie, and they weren't really explored as much in the previous two films, but we see the Sully family, the clan, reeling from the loss of their eldest son, Neytiri, and they all handle it differently. Neytiri, I feel like she's struggling through her loss in a more traditional sense, and as like kind of this mourning mother, she's like really like, I feel like she's kind of embracing the culture around mourning, or at least her culture's version of mourning.
Yep.
But it's like you can see her going through that grief in a very personal way. But you see Jake kind of putting the Marine, always just putting the grief to the side,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just trying to focus on work and preparing for future
Right.
conflict, like diving down, getting guns, bringing them
Mm-hmm.
back it up from the sunken ships.
Mm-hmm.
And then Loak, the other son, he's just blaming himself for his
Yep.
brother's death, and he's kind of wrestling with this guilt over this loss, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of has his own journey of like self-discovery and exploration. And it's prevalent in this movie, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a quick side note before moving on, but like, Loak like goes on a whole odyssey to go find Pyakon.
Yeah,
Like, he goes on a whole like marine adventure, basically,
yeah.
which was pretty cool. But yeah, it's like I really appreciated how this arc, it doesn't shy away from how grief can manifest in really ugly ways sometimes. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like Neytiri, once she's like turned towards religion and she's doing the grieving, mourning mother thing, which is fine. But in doing that, she is like neglecting her other kids a little bit, like especially the little one who probably doesn't really understand what's going on and needs some help and guidance. She
Mm-hmm.
also lashes out at both Jake and Spider, who we kind of see her resentment bubbling at the end of Way of Water as well. Like, she almost kills him, remember? And um,
Mm.
it's like a son for a son type of thing in that movie. But then she also
Right.
lashes out at Jake. She's like, she hates all of humanity, the pink skins, for what they did. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, you're married to one, your adopted son is one, like, and you didn't used to feel this way about a lot of the humans. You have your scientist buddies at the
Mm-hmm.
base and stuff like that. And it's like she comes around over the course of the movie in a way that feels organic to me. Like, Spider,
Yes.
she witnesses Spider risk his life to save Jake in the like, RDA action sequence. But Jake also kind of regresses from the last film a little bit, and he lashes out at Loak, blaming him for Neteyam's death, even though it wasn't his fault, and he knows that. And then Neteyam almost kills himself. He takes a gun out to the beach and he puts it on his chin. He's going to shoot himself in
Yeah,
the head.
Loak. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like it's like I I thought it went places I did not expect or really even need this
Yeah.
genre of movie to go, and I really respect that. And on the note of not shying away from ugliness and relating to Spider as well, like, the film takes both Jake and Neytiri to some pretty dark places, as we've already talked about, and complex places as they struggle with like decisions they have to make as parents and as cultural leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like to what you mentioned earlier, like, Jake comes to the conclusion that the only way for the Navi to be safe and survive is if he kills Spider. And right after Spider saved him, and he's just like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's such a heartbreaking scene too, not just because you think Jake might do it, but remember Spider's line is like, he's like, I know I have to die, but do you still like love me? And
Yeah. Oh,
it's
that was
like,
good.
it's because he realizes what's going on, and then that's his only concern. And it's so like true to Spider's character. He's so earnest and good. He's just like, I get it. I understand this has to happen, but like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad that it's like Jake decides not to do it, but then also Neytiri is like, what the fuck, we cannot do this. And
Mm-hmm.
they all go back together.
Yeah.
Great stuff, I thought.
Very powerful. Very powerful. And then Jake, or not Jake, Spider gets to kind of help out uh, Kiri
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of the movie, because Kiri, like, if Spider wasn't there, they would have lost at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, because Kiri has this whole um, saga of her own odyssey to try to like get to Awa. She has this kind of
Mm-hmm.
connection, but there's like a
Yeah, she's like
firewall.
blocked. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's like, um, space Jesus and everything. So it's like she's got to find a way to get through there. And I liked the fact that Spider was there, and so was Tuck, helping her kind of push through and get to
Yep.
Awa. But I gotta ask, why was Awa a giant human-like baby? Why?
So
I don't know. It's kind of weird. it reminds me a little bit of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and maybe you could make the argument that it doesn't. Maybe it looks a little bit more like a Navi, but I don't know. It was just
Well,
kind of like, why did we even see Awa at all? Like,
okay.
I don't know.
I disagree, but I will agree. It's 100% referencing 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's why
Yes,
it
yes.
reminds you of that, because it's trying to. But
Mm-hmm.
I kind of loved it because I think it's so weird that Awa is like a giant human baby. I think, and the
Mm-hmm.
one thing I like about it is, one, I didn't ever think we would get such a visualization of what their goddess looks like. I never thought
Yeah.
we would get to see that. And two, it's like it feels very alien to the Navi and the world of Pandora, because it looks like a human baby. And I'm curious if that being the way she presents her form, at least showcases her form, I wonder if that's going to come up in the next two movies, as relations with humanity are a big part of this series, right? Like, I wonder if their goddess being humanoid, or like human shaped, will play a
Mm-hmm.
role in how
Yeah,
everything is resolved. So
that's a good point.
yeah, but talking about Awa, we should talk about Kiri as well, because we find, I think we knew this in the last film, but she didn't, that she was like Grace's, Sigourney Weaver's avatar, got
Yep.
pregnant, and then Kiri is I think we knew she was the baby of the avatar. I don't know if we knew she was a clone, like genetically identical, and that's why she's voiced by Sigourney Weaver, which I understand the her being voiced by Sigourney Weaver, who is much older than the character, obviously, and the voice sounds like Sigourney Weaver sounds like. I find it distracting. I understand it is meant to make me feel distracted a little bit, and it's meant to tie into like what Kiri is. But she
Mm-hmm.
is basically, you alluded to it already, like Immaculate Conception. She is like the child of Awa,
Mm-hmm.
space Jesus, um, and she has this like firewall, but she's like uber powerful in her connection, right? Like, she can kind of command the
Yes.
animals and the plants of the world to do certain things. Very interesting character. I'm excited to see more of what she's about.
Yeah, she's dope as hell. I like her a lot, and yeah, all praise space Jesus. And there's plenty of biblical allusions in
Mm-hmm.
Avatar. We already talked about when Jake almost kills Spider. It's very um, similar to the Abraham and Isaac story in
Mm-hmm.
the Bible,
Yep.
but there's plenty of other stuff.
Yeah. Jake, like at the end of the first movie, like you could also say Jake is sort of resurrected into his avatar body.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jesus, Quaritch, same thing in the second one. Like, there is this idea of like rebirth into a new form. Um, and also the constant of I see you in Navi culture, and then Quaritch trying to push, or Jake, sorry, trying to push Quaritch to like see Pandora and like see how deep it goes and the truth of this world. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it really reminds me of like the story of Saul to Paul. We talked about it in our Wake Up Dead Man episode, because it's a big part of that movie as well. But like, where Saul is blinded, and then he eventually like sees the light and becomes an apostle of Christ, right, in the Bible. And it's like,
Right.
it kind of makes me think that Quaritch's ultimate like conclusion, it's going to be like he is going to be like within Jake's entourage at some point in this
Mm-hmm.
series. Like, it's so clear that that's where they're going with him, right?
Yeah, I can definitely see that as a
Mm-hmm.
direction. And it just, while we were talking, I was just thinking about Varang, and it's not an entirely one to one comparison, but I
Mm-hmm.
just suddenly thought of the story of Job in the Bible,
Oh
where
yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, Job loses everything because it's like this deal or this gamble
the bet.
between God and the devil. Yeah, this
Yeah.
bet. They're betting, and the devil's like, oh, I bet I could like make him like turn his back on you
Mm-hmm.
if and he's like, no, there's no way, and he kills all of his livestock and like, you know, destroys Job's life, but he's still devout to God. It doesn't shake his faith. But
Yeah.
Varang's kind of the opposite, where she lost everything, and
Yeah.
then she's like she was tested by Ayla, you could say,
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't survive, or her faith didn't hold. But I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe that one's a stretch.
As a kid, when I was religious, still, just want to say the story of Job pissed me the fuck off so much. Like, like it's such a dick move. Like he does
Yeah.
nothing wrong. He's like devout and loyal and kind, and then God is like, well, yeah. I mean, I'll take a bet. I will kill his entire family and burn his house down and destroy his farm and kill all of his animals. And then at the end of the story, it's like, does he bring his family back to life? No, he gives him a new one. Like the fuck.
Jesus. That's dark.
Yeah, it's very uncool. I would just say that.
Boo.
Yeah, boo. Moving on though, like one sequence that I really, really loved, and in a movie where there are a lot of sequences that are evocative of earlier films in the franchise, this is the one that is least so. Neytiri rescuing Jake from the RDA. Like Jake surrenders himself so that the rest of them don't like get totally demolished, right? And he is taken in by Quaritch and the Ash people to whatever the RDA city is called. I forget. It's like of the action sequences, this is absolutely the most fresh, fully something we have not seen in the franchise at all. It could be, and I think it is visually prepping the audience for something we may see in 4 or 5, which we'll talk about in predictions. And I think it's the first set piece that has taken place in a human constructed environment. You get like Neytiri kind of does like a Death Star assault on her Banshee, and it's fucking awesome.
It's so cool. I love that sequence, and I think you were right. This is the first time we've seen it in kind of a human environment and not just Pandora. I loved it. I thought it was super neat, and it felt covert too, like perfectly covert, like rescue mission. So cool.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people saying that like when they were watching the movie, they thought this was the climax of the film, and in a way it could have worked as that. And but you know, we get another battle. You know, they rescue him. He's got to go be Toruk Makto again. He goes and finds the Toruk Banshee, who loves him, I guess, which I think is a fun detail.
Yeah, I love the Turek. He's so cool. That flying dinosaur.
Yeah. And yeah, the final sequence of this one, it's sort of a synthesis of the final sequences of the first movie and the second movie. Like we get another assault on the water tribe's place. So we get the aquatic assault with all the same like little crab walkers and submarines and stuff that they have. But then we also get the like aerial battle as well. They just put them together, and it's and then the big difference is, unlike the first one, they aren't protecting the like spiritual tree this time. They're protecting the Tulkun calves because they're like there's some ceremony that they're doing, and they got to protect the little baby whales. I get why people feel this sequence, especially, is a bit derivative of the first 2 movies, but I'm okay with it. For one,
same.
The flow of the battle is very different from the other 2, and also it's like it's the culmination of the trilogy and the arc, or trilogy in quotes because we're getting 2 more, but like the arc. So we're getting a lot of callbacks. Like think second Death Star and Return of the Jedi, right?
Yes.
Like there are a lot of differences between those 2 space battles, but at the end of the day, they're assaulting a giant space orb that shoots lasers. It's fine. I also the battle was just fucking epic, and I knew it's so well done because it's like they're kicking too much ass early on, right? So you're like, well, something is going to happen soon because they're winning too much right now.
Yeah. And the Ash people come in and
with the eclipse. The eclipse starts and the Ash people roll in. It's perfect.
That was so cool. I love that bit. That was so neat. And then I love like the Turek taking that fucking like whole helicarrier thing down. Like so neat.
I saw someone point out like in the and they do a lot of action moves that they do in the first one, like Torek grabbing one of the helicopters and like hitting another one with it.
Exactly.
That's a callback to the first one. But I think with the helicarrier thing, it's like someone pointed out that Jake isn't even riding him at this point.
Yeah.
He just does that on his own. He's like, fuck these guys.
He's like, I hate these guys. I gotta do this again. God.
Yeah.
Okay, I got this.
Did Edie Falco General survive?
I think she got sucked up into the vortex. And
Oh yeah,
exploded.
she was on the ship still. Yeah, she said abandoned ship, and then she did not do that.
Then she stayed on the ship for some reason. But
Yeah.
I also really liked how everything, that vortex added a cool element to it too.
Mhm.
And like, then that way it's just like, okay, all that metal just gets taken away, all the electronics, and then you're just back to basics, stick and stone.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was the metal getting sucked up. That's what. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah, it that does like really ground the final like the showdown between Quaritch and Jake, I guess, because like all their tools are going away and they're just like wailing on each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, come to this question finally. Avatar 4. What are some of your thoughts on where we could go next?
Okay, so I mean, we know it's happening now. That was a question mark for a while, but it is happening. And Cameron has said that he has plans for both a fourth and fifth movie. The franchise is meant to be 5. There is still some chance Cameron steps away from being the director and like just stays on the movies, but like less involved so he can do other projects. I kind of hope he doesn't. I kind of hope he directs like through the end, but I would understand like he has been doing this franchise exclusively for 15 years, no longer, because he had to make the first one before 2009. So like 20 years probably. Yeah, so I would really like them to dive more into Kiri and her connection to Awa and like what that means and what her role in this sort of like, I don't know, Christ archetype is for the franchise. Cameron also said at one point that the franchise would go to Earth, and I think he even said it's Neytiri who would be going there. And some line about like not all humans are bad and not all Na'vi are good. We see the latter in this movie, but we would maybe see the former in an Earthbound story. I think we do see Earth. I know we do see Earth in like the extended edition of the first one before Jake leaves. You see him like navigating this like cyberpunk city as a paraplegic, which is there's a great cut in that scene. But yeah, I'm interested to see how the franchise feels if we're not on Pandora, you know?
Yeah.
And then the last thing for me, full Quaritch redemption arc. And I think, because there are hints of this, and you're going to talk about this in a second, but I think like Jake is probably, he survived, which I didn't think he would, but I think he is going to not be the protagonist as much going forward. I think there's a time jump. And I think to the extent Jake is majorly involved in the story, it will be focused on his relationship with Quaritch and bringing Quaritch to the side of good. What about you? What are your predictions or like wish list items, I guess?
I could see all of the above that you just said, and I'm game for it. I know that they're going to make more. I just don't want it to be like a franchise that's feels like the MCU where they're pumping out a new movie every 2 years, you know, like we had a big gap between the first one and the second one. And that was great. I was happy to dive back in. But it's been like 2 years since that last one. So I don't want it to be like 2027, here's another Avatar movie. I want them to kind of take their time and just like, because that's what I think makes it special, is that there's so much attention to detail, there's so much passion, there's so much wonder. If they just churn these movies out, just like every MCU movie, like they've slowed those down lately, but you know they did that for a while. And
they were like every 4 months for a while, which was
it was like way too much content, and it's like it doesn't feel as special to me anymore. It feels more regular, and it's like I just want you to just take your time with it. And I would like kind of Jake and Neytiri to kind of take more of a back seat in the next one, and I want to focus more on Kiri, Took, and Spider. I think that's kind of where my focus would be kind of more on the younger ones, like taking up the mantle.
Yeah, and like if there's a time skip, which I think they're
Yeah.
supposed to be, like they'd be a bit older. They'd probably
Hmm.
be at the age that Jake and Neytiri are in the first movie, so they'd be like, perfect to take over the protagonist mantle from that. And because it does feel like Jake's leadership journey could come to a rest. Like he could just be like not a background character. I don't think he's going to be, but he should be, yeah, they should be more in the side role that the kids are in right now, and the kids should take the front seat.
Agreed.
But um yeah,
Well,
well,
yeah.
with that, let's transition
March.
to some
Whoa.
other stuff. um Niles, what have you been watching, reading, playing? And your first thing on the list, maybe save that to the end, and then we do a little mini review together. Unless you're not done.
Yes.
Never mind. You do
You're
yours.
good.
I'll do mine.
You're good. You're good. I'll go in no particular order.
Mm-hmm.
RuPaul's Drag Race season 18.
Mm-hmm.
It's back, baby. We watched the first episode on Saturday. It's a really good, strong group of queens. It's like 14 queens, and a lot of them are more experienced, older queens, kind of in
Mm-hmm.
their 30s or older. So it's like
Okay.
not as many newbies this time. You got like really kind of experienced professionals on
Yeah.
the show, and I really like that first episode. It was a nice design challenge instead of a talent show. So I'm liking this season so far. That's what I'll
Cool.
say. I don't have any like front runners yet, but I think it's a really strong group. And there's at least one queen from Denver. I think her
Oh.
name's Nina Coco, if I remember right. So that's fun. Um, I've also we've been going back and rewatching the first two seasons of Fargo,
Mm-hmm.
which is an excellent show. It's kind of loosely based on the movie Fargo, but it's an anthology series. So every season is kind of this different story in the North Dakota, Minnesota area.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone talks like this, don't you know? And and they're just so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think those first two seasons are so strong, and the fifth season's really good too. So we're just working through those, but um, yeah, they're just fantastic. I really, really do love that show. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's really strong storytelling, really strong characters too. Like they're very well defined and kind of mystical too.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been watching Stranger Things season 5. I'm not done yet, but I'm enjoying it overall. It's good. I think it's just too long. There's just too much content to get
Mm-hmm.
through, and I feel like this whole season could have been like 5 or 6 episodes, and they just like stretched it out a little bit too much. Personally,
Not to
but
mention the
that's
episode length. Do you know how long the finale is?
yeah, it's like 2 hours. It shouldn't feel like a chore to get through, but I'm like, 2 hours. My
How far are
God.
you into the season yet? Because I know we talked about it a couple days ago. Have you watched more since then, or?
Yeah, I've watched one more episode. I can't fully remember. They just got it's the hospital. Like I think I'm on I just finished episode 6. I think it
Oh,
was.
okay, okay.
So
Yeah.
almost there. Just got 2
Mm-hmm.
more episodes, but I mean, I like it. It's just I feel like it's just a little, too long.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I also finally finished the book Dune by Frank Herbert. Fantastic book. One of the best sci-fi books I've ever read. I do think I want to read Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of continue on with the series, but I feel like maybe I should have a Dune break. So I'm trying to read some other books right now, which maybe I'll talk about next episode. But Dune, that's so fantastic. It's so cool. I just loved it so much. And then I don't think I've mentioned this on our last episode, but I've been playing this indie game. I just finished it called Winter's Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
It is like a cozy craft survival game. You are a little mouse in the woods.
Oh.
during winter, and your whole goal is to just like rebuild your home and help your neighbors, like,
Oh.
and it's just sweet, and it's like kind of a puzzle game too, and you got your little tools and you're walking around the map and you're trying not to freeze to death, and all this fun stuff. And
Hmm.
I don't know, I enjoyed it a lot. I would recommend that. And it's, yeah, I think it's on Steam, Switch, on all kinds of things.
Cool.
But what about you, Dylan? What have you been up to?
I've been continuing to read 1984. Excuse me. I'm at the point now, like, Winston has the book. He's learning about all the, like, ideology that he's trying to get
Mm-hmm.
more involved in. So I'm very curious to see, like, I think I'm entering into the last, like, 40, 50 page stretch of the book. So I'm very interested to see how it all pans out. Great book. I like it. It's, great political commentary. I think it's interesting, like, it's obviously like a critique of Stalinism, but we, apply it more generally to authoritarianism. But it's interesting that, like, in certain places they're like, oh, it's an anti-communist book, and then in other places it's like, oh, it's an anti-fascist book and it's more pro-communist, and it's like, well, it's kind of both.
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
it's a critique of it's a critique of Stalinism and the abandonment of the revolutionary ideas in favor of authoritarianism. So it's like,
Right.
it's very interesting to examine, like, the erosion of, like, vision in favor of uh propaganda and just control. I,
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy reading about, like, especially now that he has the book and you're getting all this extra, maybe true, maybe
Yeah.
not, information about the world. I'm really enjoying that element of it. Um, Also, I forgot to mention this last episode, but I watched Sentimental Value. It's a Norwegian film with Stellan
Mm-hmm.
Skarsgård and Elle Fanning. It's fantastic. It's like, um, Stellan Skarsgård is this Norwegian director, and he has, like, a really weird relationship with both of his daughters, who, like, as kids acted in some of his films. He's transitioned more into documentary, and then his one daughter, who's the main character of the film, really. And most of the movie is in Norwegian. The scenes with Elle Fanning are in English because she's an American actress. But, like, he
Mm-hmm.
wants her, his daughter, to star in his final movie, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't really want to do it. So he meets Elle Fanning's character, and it's like, oh, you should do it. Like, you'd be great. And he very clearly, like, is trying to mold her into playing it the way his daughter would play it, but she can't speak
Mm.
Norwegian, so she's, like, gonna do it in English. So he's like, okay, we'll just make the movie in English. It's fine. And it's like, it's about, like, their creative process, but also the relationship between the dad and daughter, and the creation of this movie, and, like, their lives. It's really, really good. I liked it a lot. I would recommend it. I also, like you, watched Stranger Things 5. I am done with it. Um, I think I won't do spoilers now. We can do, like, a mini review next episode once you've watched the whole show. But it's
Yeah,
like,
sure.
the plot is the messiest it's ever been, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. However, the show emotionally landed in the ways I needed it to on a character front. I think it
Sure.
so, like, in that sense, for me, it largely stuck the landing. Um, in a way, like, people are comparing it to Game of Thrones' ending. No. um, no, incorrect. It's just not at all. And we'll talk about it more when we talk about it fully. But yeah, it's really odd, and I agree with you. The runtime thing is very frustrating. I didn't have a problem pacing wise necessarily with most of the episodes, but
Sure.
I do think it's like, guys, you're writing television. There is a format for television, like, and part of writing for a format and developing, like, it's developing the skill to write a story in that structure. And they just kind of were like, we're doing a movie for the finale. It's like a movie. It's not structured like a movie, really, but it's the runtime of a movie. um
Right.
so that was a little frustrating, but there's lots of good stuff in it. I'd say it's the weakest season of the 5 for sure, but it sticks the landing in a way that a lot of franchises in recent years have not. So that's cool.
Sure.
On Christmas Day, I went to see Marty Supreme, the new Josh Safdie movie starring Timothée Chalamet. Excellent. So good. It is about loosely based on a real guy, but it is about the character Marty, very loosely based, I should say. I looked him up afterward and it's like, okay, there's not a lot of similarity here. But Marty Mauser is, he wants to be the best ping pong player in the world in, it's 1952, I think. And he's and it's really just about him just trying to get what he needs to get to the places he needs to be to make this goal happen. And it is showing you the corners he will cut and the people he will burn in order to do that. And it's a very interesting and stressful movie.
Wow.
Very, very good. Also, I have been watching the new season of Fallout. It's great.
Oh, cool.
The first season was great. Second season is equally great so far. This season is more riffing off of the New Vegas game. So they're in Nevada now, in the Mojave. We have characters and factions from New Vegas, like Caesar's Legion and Mr. House, who runs New Vegas. And then we're getting lots of interesting developments from the characters and factions from season 1 as well. Continues to be a great show. Also, last thing, I watched the first episode of MGM Plus's new Robin Hood show. The first episode was free on Amazon Prime. I wish the whole show was free on Amazon Prime because Amazon owns MGM. So, what the fuck?
Yeah. Come on, guys.
So I'm going to see if I can find a good way to watch the rest of it. But I liked it so far. Sean Bean's in it. He plays the sheriff of Nottingham.
Cool.
So that's probably the biggest name in the show so far. But I'm like, okay, that's fun. And I like a sort of pseudo realistic take on Robin Hood. I think it's interesting. Yeah. It's just you see sort of the dynamics between different waves of migration into Britain and how that's playing into it. And then you get the introduction of Robin Hood and Maid Marian and the Sheriff of Nottingham and some other people. And it's, cool. I'm going to try to keep watching it. I'm into it. I like Robin Hood. But yeah, that's going to do it for us this week. I think we'll be back in 2 weeks to review something. Maybe 28 years later is out in time, but I don't really know.
Ooh.
The Bone Temple.
Bone Temple.
Yeah.
I do want to see that.
Yeah. If that's out, maybe we do that. I haven't checked the schedule. If not, we'll do something else. Until then, Niles, where can people find you online?
You can find me on this podcast just about every 2 weeks. So please follow us to stay updated with us. And you can follow me on Instagram at Niles Got No Styles. What about you, Dylan? Where can people follow you online?
You can follow me on Instagram at DylanD1026, on Twitter at D-Day Movies, on YouTube at D-Day Movies, and like Niall said, you can find both of us here on this podcast and on YouTube and on TikTok and other places at Play, Pause, Rewind. Happy to be back. Happy New Year. Everybody stay safe. Have a great 2026. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.